Hi. Are you ready to hear a shocking story? Well, I'm about to tell you one. Although you might just simply laugh at me when I finish. So, my name is Maxine. I'm 17, and I'm going to the college in my hometown after graduation. No need to move far away from home. Furthermore, my father is a professor there. My father plays a very important part in my story, and I love him very much, regardless of everything that happened. That's why I want you to get to know him better. He is a handsome man in his early 40s with an excellent sense of humor and a very sweet disposition. 5 years ago, he and my mother got divorced. More often, children stay with their mother after their parents split, but not in my case. My mother had a serious problem with alcohol, which started almost right after I was born. My father tried to fight her habit for more than 10 years, for my sake, I guess. But when I grew up, I told him that it would probably be better if we lived together, just the two of us. The rest was simple, so it goes. Many people think that divorce is something bad. I don't know. I watched it all happen, and it seemed to me that my father was breathing freely for the first time in his life. Of course, a couple of years later, his friends and I started to jokingly tease him that he needed to find a girlfriend. But he would just smile and laugh it off, replying that he had all he needed in his life. And it did seem like it. His life was always full and interesting. He likes to go to the theater, he never misses a good art exhibition, and he snowboards. In addition to all that, he spends a lot of time with me, and we enjoy hanging out together a lot. But I don't like to snowboard or ski, so usually he'd go to the mountains alone. Then approximately 1 year ago, he met John on a ski slope. Despite the fact that John was about 15 years younger than my father, and he was not in any way connected to teaching. He was a web designer. They quickly became good friends. Joined at the hip, as they say. And I understood why about 5 minutes after I met John. They were so much alike, both in their looks and their personalities, with their habit of finding a way to turn everything into a joke, and the fact that they never got down. I liked John a lot, and I enjoyed the fact that he began to visit us very often. We had a huge house anyway, while there was enough room for everybody, so it never caused any inconvenience. On the contrary, actually, it was much more lively when John was around. A few months passed, and I could not imagine our life without John. He loved theater almost as much as my father and I did, and he helped me with my Spanish. He helped my father with his library research. He played with our dog, who seemed to simply adore him. And I was nothing but happy when my father told me, in his usual joking manner, that John visited us so often that it would be better and smarter if he just moved in and lived with us, instead of paying somebody else for an apartment somewhere else. And that was the story of how John moved in with us. And to see him at home, with all of us creating a small crowd in the kitchen while cooking breakfast, teasing each other, arguing about who's next to go food shopping, and finally, just going together. I have no idea at what exact moment I fell in love with him. I told you I'm 17, and all of this had nothing to do with a little girl falling in love with daddy's old man friend nonsense. Well, at least I didn't think so. Anyway, I couldn't find any reason why John and I couldn't be together. We got along really well, and he was so much like my father, who was, in turn, an ideal of a man for me. And John was already like part of our family. There was only one problem. I could not figure out how he felt about me. He told me nice and flattering things pretty often. He never avoided my company, but that was all. So I decided that he must be very well-mannered and therefore just didn't know how to behave in any other way with the young daughter of his best friend. And for me, it really only added more points to his charismatic personality. So nothing held me back from dreaming that if he liked me too, I could have a chance to marry the best man in the world. So there was just one little thing that remained, to work up the courage and clear things up. Well, fortune favors the brave. I couldn't have picked a better moment. My dad was gone for 2 days with his students, and John and I were left alone. John was working on the computer in his room, and I was trying to be creative in the kitchen, mostly to calm my nerves down. But I also thought this dinner should be good enough in case it turned out to be romantic. Or at least we could eat some good food while making fun of such a ridiculous thing as unrequited love, like two grown-up people. Humming something under my nose, I set the table and told John that dinner was ready. He came down looking tired. His eyes were red, but they came alive as soon as he saw the food. I was talking casually, but inside I was tense, like a bowstring strung tight. I was looking for the best moment, when suddenly I said in the same casual tone, "John, there's something I've wanted to tell you for a long time. I like you a lot. What do you think? Is there any chance that you and I could be together?" John suddenly became very serious and confused. He gave me a strange look and said very slowly, "Maxine, I thought you knew that your father and I are a couple. Actually, we thought when I first moved in and you took it so welcoming." This is very stupid, but at first I decided that this must be some kind of a joke. Well, this joke was not so hot, but any would do when the alternative is, "Thank you, but I do not like you at all." But John said something totally different. "Maxine, you're a fine girl. What a good wife you would be. But I'm so sorry." You know, I am very proud of myself. I did not run away in tears. I did not make a scene when my father came back. Actually, when your life turns upside down because you were so stupidly blind, it can only be your fault. Nevertheless, I talked to my father, and he was very upset and full of regret that he didn't talk to me and tell me straight out. But just with humorous hints here and there, well, neither he nor John are to blame. It's just that they never even considered the chance that his daughter would fall in love with her father's boyfriend. Who would have thought, right? I wish I could be far away from this town and from the two men who I love so much, and who would feel better without me. But as I said, our house is big enough for us to avoid each other until one day we can laugh at what happened, like three grown-up people. Thank you for listening to my story. I think I'll be all right. I hope you never get into a situation where you would feel as stupid as I feel now.